And welcome to the Susie Homesteader channel. And here we're going to do part 2 of our indoor gardening in our terrarium series. And hopefully you got to watch part 1 where we talked about doing some moisture thriving plants in a terrarium with a lid, which is a little different ecosystem than what a succulent terrarium will require. Here is an example of some beautiful colors that the succulents come in. I just went to my local nursery and picked out some really pretty colors. And here's a few names for you. This is called the Moonlit Pearl. Super pretty. This is Echeveria, if I pronounced that right. This is a variegated fire. This is called a campfire. Love those colors. Don't have the tags for these little guys. And a zebra plant. A couple other selections, and this is of course an aloe vera plant, which also has some great medicinal properties to it, which I always try and keep in the house. But this does get bigger, so it's probably not a good selection for a terrarium. So maybe just do your aloe vera in a separate pot as a succulent. But the idea for the succulents is that they have more light and less moisture than the other kind of terrarium that we talked about earlier. So there's so many fun containers that you can put your succulents in. I'm going to actually use this old toolbox, which is perfect because succulents don't really have a very deep root system. And so you kind of need something more like in a tray style as opposed to something deeper for other plants that have a longer root system. So something kind of flat and open is fun for succulent containers. You can even just do little individual containers like these little rabbit feeders that I kind of love to put plants in just as a cute theme. You can use big shells and then incorporate these little shells somewhere around your plants if you want to. And you know, like a wood dough bowl or something in the wood category is always kind of fun for succulents. This is, it's a wreath. I don't necessarily know if it's called a succulent wreath, but it does work really well because you can tuck your succulents into these little pockets that they designed into this kind of fiber material and hang it up. And this is kind of like a whole kit that you can buy and put together, and the succulents seem to do really well on that, especially if you hang it on like a nice hot wall, like an outdoor wall or outdoor door where there's a lot of heat. So there's another fun idea for succulents for your containers. And you know, you can use driftwood or other decorative rocks. Really anything, any kind of fun little trinkety item you might want to incorporate into your theme, just like our other terrariums that we talked about. And what you're going to start with on your materials is you want to start with drainage, because that is the difference between terrariums and outdoor plants. So just like any other terrarium, you're going to start with smaller rocks, even smaller than this if you want. You can use pea gravel. This I bought at a craft store, you know, or you can go outside and dig some really little ones up. But the smaller the better for the drainage. But that will be your first layer in your succulent terrarium. And then your second layer is going to be some charcoal. And again, if you have some in an old wood ash burn pile, you can take your own charcoal out from outdoors. Just make sure it doesn't come out of a barbecue or briquettes that have chemicals in it. But your second layer will be charcoal. And then you're going to need some kind of a mesh layer after that, which will be your third layer. And this is a sheet moss. You know, you can use a septic fabric. You could use any kind of like a woven fabric, just so long as it's tight enough to hold your soil. And on the succulents, the better choice for soil than a potting soil is a cactus mix. And that's because this will be a little grittier, and I think it does contain like a little bit of sand. So it's just a different set of ingredients in the cactus mix than you would use in potting soil. And if you don't have any moss that you can find in the stores, you can just, if you have some outside, go out and dig some up, which I, of course, have tons of. Just try and find the moss that's kind of tight so that your soil doesn't filter through it. So that is the idea. Rocks, charcoal, sheet moss or moss, and your soil, preferably a cactus mix. And then after you have those layered in your container, whatever that might be, then you can actually start putting in your plants. So depending on how deep the root system is, when you take these out of the containers, or the deepest one that you have, that's how deep you want to make your soil level, that top and last layer of materials. So you'll have to look at which one has the deepest root system, and that is probably a good couple inches in your soil level there that you'll have to put into your container. So, and you can still add other decorative rocks or items on top of that soil, just so long as that water can get into the soil and your soil is somewhat moist. It does not have to stay moist all the time like the different terrariums that we also talked about. So there are some ideas for you for your succulent terrarium, and I'm sure you might come up with some other fun ones too besides what I've talked about today. And let me know if you have any questions, and hopefully we'll be able to answer them for you. So we'll see you on our other videos that will include seed sprouting and bulb forcing and regrowing some vegetables from the kitchen. So we'll see you again. Bye-bye. So let's get started. Subscribe to the Susie Homesteader channel, and we'll see you there. Bye-bye.